I doing the introduction? Good evening, everybody. I'm sorry. This podcast is going to be released in half an hour. Literally after we finish recording it because we haven't been good. I'm sorry, I have been ill. I've just come back from Turkey and didn't have a voice, so there wasn't really much we could do. But we have a subject today that my lovely husband... Oh, welcome to a new episode of the Arab, Aya, and the Manc. Den. Here, London. Say hello, my love.
Hello. Hello, our 5 followers.
They are... Do you know they are 291?
291 followers. And how many of them actually listen?
I don't know, but whoever is listening, we appreciate you, we love you, and we are doing this for you. Okay? I'm enjoying this. Are you?
Sometimes.
Sometimes? What do you mean?
Well, I know, I'm a busy man.
So am I.
Anyway, let's get on with this one.
Okay, my love. Can I just say, I just love you, my love.
Thank you. Right.
Sorry,
what do you...
Snuffly. What is the what is the topic?
Start?
Yeah, what's the topic?
Right. I'm just going to ask you first. How do you like your pancakes? What do you like on them?
I like maple syrup.
Really?
Yeah, I love maple syrup.
Okay, and what else?
A strawberry jam. In Sweden, we always have strawberry jam on them.
Okay.
Or even hallon. What's that in English? Raspberry. What about you?
Well, when we go to the pancake house, I've never seen you have maple syrup.
Because they don't offer it.
They do.
Oh, they do, but like it's very tiny, so that's why I'll go like for the bigger one.
Anyway, I go for the millionaire.
The millionaire. That's the only time you're a millionaire.
It is indeed.
Right.
Anyway, with this story happens to be about the theft of maple syrup.
What? Who steals that? How much does it cost? It's not that expensive, surely. Was it?
Well,
must be.
When you get it from the shop, it's probably about, I don't know, it's like £4 for a little tiny pot or something like that.
Is it?
It's very.
I've never bought maple syrup.
It is 20 times more expensive than oil.
You gotta be kidding me, man.
No,
What?
that's how expensive it is.
20 times more than oil.
Because it's so hard
Va
to
I
make it
helvete?
or to collect it. So almost all of it is collected within 6 weeks.
Yes.
In a place called Quebec in Canada.
Oh, I know where that is, love. I had a French teacher from there who spoke like this.
94% of the maple syrup in Canada comes from Quebec.
Really?
And that equates to almost 80% worldwide.
I'm objecting to that because I read somewhere that 71% of maple syrup production is in Canada. And you're saying 80. So is it 80 or 70? When is your resource, please? Have you critically thought?
It's 77%. Right, I said almost 80.
I said 71.
Well, it's 77.
Are you sure?
Yes.
What's your resource? Source.
I've had a couple of sources.
Yeah, give me, for example. You are a student at university level, so you should be critically appraising your...
I have done. Now, do you want to be quiet while I tell the story? It's not an important thing, is it?
Just critically appraising.
Right, I've done it. Don't worry about it.
Of course I trust you, dearest.
Right. So, do you know how they make
What happened?
maple syrup?
It's a tree. It comes from a tree. So I guess like they squeeze something and they...
You literally put a tap into the tree.
Are you kidding me?
The liquid comes from the tree, but it has to be...
Say wallah.
Wallah. It has to be like a perfect temperature. That's why it can only be done in these few weeks. And
6 weeks after what?
Huh?
Is it within 6
around about 6 weeks each year. That's when the temperature's perfect for it.
When is that usually? Like what month?
I don't know. I don't know exactly.
Probably winter.
Yeah, it's January time around then because they have to have it. It has to be above freezing in the morning and below freezing at night.
Wow, that's very specific.
Because the liquid flows up and down. So, 50 litres of the tree liquid that they collect makes 1 litre of syrup.
Wait, 50 liter of the...
So you collect 50 litres from the tree.
Yes.
1 litre of that is used to make the syrup.
Wow, okay.
Because obviously after the...
Like distill it.
In it and all that
okay,
kind of
makes
stuff.
sense. Wow.
So, because...
50, how many percent is that?
2%.
Yeah.
So...
Thank you. I hate bats.
So the maple syrup market in Quebec, because it nearly all comes from Quebec.
It's Quebec, not Quebec.
It depends where you're from.
Okay, whatever. I forgot that you're from Baghdad and you pronounce things different.
Yeah, so it's regulated anyway by this they call it FPAC. It's like a government endorsed cartel, basically.
Wow.
So a group of producers have joined together, and they like to protect the product. So because it's 1 year you'll get a big production, and the next year not so much.
Okay.
So
like it varies.
Yeah. So if you get a big production, then the market will be flooded, and you'll get the cost of it will drop quite low. And then the next year you might not get any, and then the cost will be too high.
Wow.
So they regulate it. So by doing that, they keep the excess. The producers make so much that they can sell, and the excess that year they have to give it to FPAC, who store it in big warehouses.
Okay, got you.
And
what do they do with that?
They just store it, and then if it's a bad year, they'll give it back to producers to sell in the bad years. So you only sell so much each year.
Such a strict regulation.
And because of that, there's quite a big black market for it.
Yeah,
so
I can imagine.
Will just, sell what they can without giving it to FPAC, and sell it on the black market, try and get a bit of extra money. But anyway, so that's the background. So in 2011, there was a big excess of the syrup.
Yes.
And so all that was going to FPAC, they needed somewhere else to store it. All their warehouses were getting full. So they rented space in a warehouse from a guy called Avik Caron.
Right.
Who just happened to be a convicted fraudster. So he didn't do the due diligence very well. He also supposedly had connections with the mafia. I don't know if that's true or not.
What?
But, that's what the stories were saying.
Okay.
And so the warehouse was massive, and it didn't just store this maple syrup. It also had other businesses working there as well. So he knew that the security in there wasn't very good.
Yeah.
And that, as long as you had a pass, you could pretty much do what you want within the warehouse.
Yeah.
So he got together with, he came up with this scheme, like he wanted to
Pablo Escobar.
Extract the syrup from the warehouse.
Okay.
So he brought in a truck driver called Sebastian Dutras. I'm sure that's not how you pronounce it in French, but Sebastian Dutras.
Something like that. Yeah.
Who in turn brought in Richard Valliere.
Should I be should I be remembering all these names? Because they're just... Should we call them 1, 2, 3?
No. Dutras was a truck driver. That's all you need to know.
Yeah.
Valliere was a man who was known for setting up deals on the black market between producers and people
Buyers,
who buy it, obviously. One of those producers was his dad.
Okay.
Who was also then brought in to help out.
Yes.
Because he had massive storage facilities, from doing it himself. Yeah. So he was brought in, and then they brought in another guy then called Etienne Saint-Pierre, who was based in New Brunswick, which was outside of FPAC's jurisdiction. So they only dealt with Quebec.
Yeah.
This guy was producing it in New Brunswick. And was a buyer and a seller. He could buy and sell as much as he wanted, obviously, because they didn't produce as much in New Brunswick, so they didn't regulate it there. So he was the final person brought in. And so they decided that they'll rent more space in the warehouse, presume like as if they've got their own business in there.
Yeah.
And that's where they would start the heist from. So what they did is they worked out pretty quickly that the syrup warehouse was empty a lot of times, obviously during the night and stuff like that. So they would take the barrels from the warehouse. They just walk straight into the warehouse without any trouble whatsoever.
Yeah.
They would take these barrels, drive them off site. Dutrassa then drive them off site. They would empty the barrels, fill them with water.
What?
And then take them back.
Oh my God.
To where they got them from and put them back up again.
Back place. And no one would say anything.
No one knew a thing because they would test the barrels when they came into the warehouse. Test that the syrup was okay in there.
Yeah.
But once they'd tested, the only test that they do is they'd occasionally pull some barrels, just weigh them. They wouldn't test them again to make sure there's syrup in them. So they just put the barrels of water back onto the
Wow. Yeah.
on the top.
But I mean, like, so they just took them. Sorry if I missed something. So they just take them, and no one is like, there are no guards. No one is there, like, to tell them, "Hi, what are you doing? Why are you taking those barrels away?" Why is that?
Because they didn't have any security. They got this guy, and they probably had a couple of security guards doing the whole warehouse.
Yeah.
They had, as long as they had passes, which they did have because they worked at the warehouse, they could just come and go as they wanted.
Wow. Okay.
So they pretend they're working in their part of the warehouse, but really they've gone in there and they're taking barrels from there, driving them out. So anyway, after a while, they were getting thousands per night, but they were worried that all these journeys, that if they get caught, if they get pulled over by the police or anything happens, they're going to...
Get found out.
Yeah, the more they do it, the more likely they are to get
risky,
found out.
yeah. So, what?
So they decided that they were just going to empty the stuff on site in the warehouse. Just take the stuff from the barrels and just put the empty barrels back on there. Not even bother to...
What?
So, yeah. So
that makes no
it
sense.
meant that they could get a lot more syrup out each day, but it also meant they were leaving empty barrels there, so it's more likely they get caught eventually. But they knew that the main audit, like when someone would come around and check the proper inspection, it took place in July.
And they were doing this stuff.
They were doing this for almost a year from the previous year.
Yes. Wow. So they have made loads.
They stole 60% of the syrup that was in the warehouse.
Oh my goodness! How much money was that worth?
That was worth around about $18 million.
Wow.
So when the inspector came...
Between 3 people?
Well, there's 5 of them, isn't there?
5, so 5, yeah.
I think there was 5. Anyway.
Okay, so that's like more than enough to last them, to warrant them a really nice, happy life for the rest of the years.
The inspection, the guy comes in to do the inspection anyway. He goes to the top, he climbs up the barrels to get to the top ones, and as he stands on one of the ones underneath, it wobbled.
Oh, I know.
He thought he was gonna fall and everything was falling off him, but he didn't. He kept his balance, but then he checked the barrel, realised it was empty. So he checked a few more barrels; they were all empty around it.
Yeah.
So straight away he knows, like,
something is
basically. He calls the police. Oh, he tells FPAC. Obviously, they call the police.
Yeah.
And the police do an investigation. They guess straight away that it must be an inside job.
Yes, of course.
There's no way you can steal this much amount of syrup without it being somebody who's working in the warehouse.
Yeah. You know what? It reminds me of that film about the perfume in France. Do you remember it?
Yeah, it's very
exactly the same.
Yeah.
What was it called?
Can't remember.
Anyway, yeah.
Was that Canada as well?
No, it was somewhere in France, wasn't it?
No, because the guy was...
Anyway, come on, tell me.
Anyway.
Yeah.
So where was I up to? So yeah, they knew it was an inside job, and so what they did is they took a list of all the names that were working in the warehouse.
Yeah. Yes.
And they noticed that there was marks on the barrels that only came from one type of forklift truck.
Yeah.
So they went to a few of the local rental places that were renting forklift trucks, and they found that the only person that matched that who'd rented a forklift truck and who's also worked at the warehouse was Sebastian Jutras. So they went to question him, and straight away he just blabbed. He just told, like, "Yep, we did it, and here's all the people that are involved."
Oh my God! Did that give him a better sentence? Oh, sorry, you coming? Yeah.
Yeah. So by that time, all the syrup that they've got, it's all been exported all over the world because they were giving it to this guy in New Brunswick. He's just selling it, exporting it all over the world. So if you had syrup around in the next couple of years after that, there's a good chance that you had the stolen syrup. But anyway, they went to court, and Caron, who started up the scheme, you know, the guy it was actually his wife who owned the warehouse, but he started it. He got given 5 years and a fine of $1.2 million.
2.1.
1.2.
Oh, 1.2.
Valier, who was like he was the main ringleader, he was sort of everything and knew exactly what to do and he brought in all the other people.
Yeah.
He got 8 years in prison and a fine of $9.4 million.
Wow.
His dad got 2 years and don't seem to have got any fine at all. Saint Pierre, the guy who was selling it, he got 2 years and an $850,000 fine.
Why did they decide on this number?
I guess they worked
like
out
who's-
how much
yeah.
he was getting,
Yeah,
what his cut was and stuff like that. And Dutras just got 8 months in prison.
With nothing, yeah.
So Valier, anyway, he decided to appeal against his fine.
Right.
Of
9.4
million. He appealed it. It got reduced on appeal to 1 million.
How on earth? What the heck? What happened?
But I don't know. The Court of Appeal decided that it was too harsh a sentence. He's already spending 8 years in prison. They decided the fine was a bit too much, or a lot too much. So they reduced it to 1 million. But they took it to the Supreme Court and they reversed that decision and put it back to 9.4 million. So,
Oh my God.
but they stole 18 million. So them fines only add up to
Less than that.
just over about 11 million.
But yeah, go on. So did they pay that amount or not?
They had to pay them fines,
They
yeah.
had to pay them.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
So, but that still leaves 7 million's worth of
Where is that?
exactly. They obviously, they went to prison, but they probably did quite well out of it in the end. So this Valier, the guy who got the biggest fine, and he was coming out of prison recently, and they asked him like, why did he do it, and he said he did it for the money. He liked luxury things, and he did it. That was his main
motive.
reason. Yeah, but he said he also wanted revenge because I told you he was a broker. He used to sell on the black market. He'd put up the people who were buying it were the people who were selling it. He got caught in 2007 doing that and was fined by KPAC is that what they call KPAC?
I thought you said they called PCAC. No, FPAC.
KPAC, I think that was a film.
Anyway, yeah. It was like KPAC.
So they fined him $1.8 million in 2007, and it meant that he had to they seized his house basically.
Oh my God.
So he said he wanted revenge for that as well.
Yeah.
So that's the end of the story. But what a mad thing! Who knew that maple syrup was so valuable?
Yes. Oh my goodness, I didn't know that. Do you know what? I always thought. Do you know that golden syrup? Is that maple syrup or not? Is that just watered down one?
No, it's not.
Because it tastes like almost
very similar. It's not maple syrup, but it's something. It tastes similar, doesn't it? It's not. It doesn't taste that much different. But it obviously doesn't come from maple trees. Maple syrup has to come from a maple tree.
Yeah. Well, I don't now. Like thinking about this, I don't think I've ever tasted the real maple syrup because surely this one that they give you in the stores is not the real one. They probably water it down or something. Because like I've read about the black market and how they water down the syrup, because it's like so expensive.
No, they'll still use syrup. They probably just use like golden syrup or something like that. But they probably use. I mean, maple syrup's not that expensive. If you're
I
selling,
wonder how much it is.
it's like £4 for a pot. But when you think, if you go to a pancake house and they put maple syrup on it, they only use a little bit. You can, you're gonna
They don't use
25 people or 30 people will get through the maple syrup. So They'll just use the real thing.
Yeah. Okay, maybe. I don't know. I mean, but it is nice. It's lovely. Do you like it?
Yeah, it's nice, yeah.
That film that we talked about, which is very similar story, it's called Gold Brick. It's a French film about a man who joins the company that he really hates and comes up with a plan to traffic its perfume.
I'm not thinking about that one. I was thinking about the one with the tokens.
Oh no, this is not that was a documentary about those two women who that was actually a film, but that was American.
Yeah, no,
and they basically took the coupons and they were making money from the coupons and they got found out, isn't it? Yeah.
It's quite a film,
that is, but also the perfume film was good as well.
I remember that one, to be honest with you.
Do you remember? They were like French and I don't know, it was complicated, but it was good at the end.
Okay, you have to pass the microphone to me when it's me speaking, love.
I'm sorry, go on.
No, it's fine, I'm just saying.
Yeah.
So that's the end of the story, but what do you think about
that? Good story. I, did not know that maple syrup is so expensive and that you can make a fortune from stealing it.
Do you think it's worth it? Because like say $7 million has gone. So if you think, I was going to say if you split it between 5 of them, but they won't, because Valier is going to get the most of it.
Yeah.
Because he's the ringleader. So him and Caron, and probably his dad as well, even the seller, they must have all made a couple of million out of it.
Of course.
So do you think it's worth it? Would you go in prison for 8 years?
No, 2 years is okay.
2 years?
2 years maximum. Dennis, how long do you think I can last in prison?
You won't last half an hour.
Do you think you can last in prison?
No, not at all. If I were in prison, I'd want to be in solitary confinement for the entire... I wouldn't want to be near anyone else that's in there.
Yes, that's understandable. No, I don't think. But you know what? I mean, given the amount of money, I always say, and oh my goodness, imagine the police catch this podcast after I make like a big heist. I always say I would not risk my career and life over a little amount of money. Okay? I would over like something like that big. Yeah, probably. I would. Is this bad? Can we put this out or do we have to cut it?
No, it's absolutely fine. Why would you cut it? You're not planning on...
No, I'm not.
Making a heist of a couple of million quid, are you?
No, not now anyway. I don't have no, I'm not planning. But thank you. It was a really good story. Correcting my information that nearly 80% of maple syrup production is from Canada. And did you say 60% of it is in Quebec? Of that full production?
94% of Canadian maple syrup comes from Quebec. And about 77%. I just wrote nearly 80, but it's about 77, I think.
No, thank you so much. This was really informative. I enjoyed it very much. That's it. So until we see you guys again in our next episode, tell us what you think.
You're going to do the next one, aren't you, love?
Ooh, yeah. What am I going to do? I have no idea.
I don't know.
I've got 1 week. I have to think. It's just because you are much better in you're so organized. You have points. You have bullet points. 1, 2, 3, 4.
I'm a busy man. I've got university work.
What do you think I am?
Dissertation to do, which I haven't even started yet.
Yes, you better get going. Anyway, thank you all for listening. Thanks for supporting us. Keep liking our posts, keep listening, keep tell us what you think, etc., etc. Until we see you again next week.
See you later.
See you later, alligator.